The message came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Humanity had been searching the stars for signs of life for over a century, and now, on a routine day in 2157, every screen on Earth suddenly displayed the same words: "Greetings, Species 7249. Welcome to the Galactic Council." In the United Earth Defense Command Center, Admiral James Miller stood before the massive wall screen, his weathered face illuminated by the alien text. The room was silent except for the soft hum of computers and the quick breathing of nervous staff members. "Send our response," he ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The message they sent back was simple. "Greetings. We are humanity. We come in peace, but please proceed with caution." The aliens didn't wait long to reply. Their message was clear and direct. Earth would be integrated into the Galactic Council within one standard galactic year. It wasn't a request. Miller remembered the history lessons from his childhood. Humanity had spent its entire existence fighting, evolving, and preparing for this very moment. They had unified Earth not through peace, but through the shared understanding that somewhere out there, someone might try to conquer them. In the following weeks, the Council sent more messages. They spoke of bringing Earth up to acceptable galactic standards. They mentioned primitive species guidance protocols and mandatory technological uplift. Each message made Miller's frown deepen. "They're not listening," he said to his second-in-command, Colonel Robert Banks, as they reviewed the latest transmission. "We've told them 3 times now about our military capabilities." Banks nodded, his dark skin reflecting the blue light of the holographic display. "They think we're exaggerating. Just another primitive species trying to look tough." Miller walked to the window overlooking the underground base. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, invisible to alien scans, thousands of workers maintained humanity's real military force. Similar bases existed under the Himalayas, the Sahara, and the Pacific Ocean. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. "Send another warning," Miller ordered. "Make it clearer this time." The diplomatic team crafted a careful message. "Respected Council, while we appreciate your offer of guidance, we must insist on maintaining our independence. Humanity's history is unique. We have evolved through conflict and survival. Please don't make us demonstrate why forcing us into your council would be a grave mistake." The Council's response came within hours. "Species 7249. Your primitive posturing is noted but unnecessary. Integration will proceed as scheduled. Resistance will only delay your species' advancement." In the following days, Council ships appeared in Earth's orbit. They were massive, elegant vessels that spoke of advanced technology and absolute confidence. They demanded immediate surrender of Earth's governing bodies to Council authority. Miller stood in the command center, watching the alien ships through advanced sensors. Around him, humanity's hidden strength waited. Orbital defense platforms disguised as communication satellites. Fleets of ships hidden in underground oceans. Weapons that the Council's scans couldn't even detect. "They really think we're defenseless," Banks said, shaking his head. "All their scans show exactly what we want them to see." Miller touched the screen, bringing up the global defense grid. Every nation on Earth had united in preparation for this moment. They had spent generations building, planning, and waiting. The politicians were still trying diplomacy, but Miller knew where this would end. The Council saw Earth as primitive, weak, and in need of guidance. "Send one last warning," Miller ordered. "Keep it simple." The message was brief. "This is humanity's final warning. Please don't make us mad. You won't like the results." The Council's reply was dismissive. "Your species will be integrated. Prepare for arrival of Council representatives within one planetary rotation." Miller looked at the assembled command staff and took a deep breath. "Well," he said, "they can't say we didn't warn them." He pressed his palm against the authentication scanner, beginning the activation sequence for Earth's real defense systems. "Sound the alert. It's time to show the galaxy why humanity spent the last 100 years preparing for war." Around the world, Hidden bunkers began to open. Beneath the oceans, massive doors slid apart. In orbit, innocent-looking satellites transformed into weapon platforms. Humanity had tried to warn them, had tried to be polite. Now they would demonstrate exactly why "please don't make us mad" hadn't been a plea. It had been a promise. The Council ships began their descent at dawn. Their golden hulls gleamed in the morning sun as they pushed through Earth's atmosphere, ignoring the final warnings from every human military installation. They had chosen to land near the United Nations headquarters in New York, probably thinking it would show their power. They didn't expect the clouds to fight back. Admiral Miller watched from his command center as the hidden atmospheric defense grid activated. What looked like normal storm clouds suddenly lit up with energy, releasing electromagnetic pulses that the Council had never seen before. 3 smaller alien ships dropped from the sky immediately, their systems completely shut down. First wave of cloud defense successful, Colonel Banks reported, his voice steady. Their shields weren't designed to handle our atmospheric weapons. The larger Council ships pulled back, clearly surprised. Their communication came quickly. Species 7249, your primitive defense attempts are futile. Stand down immediately. Miller smiled. Show them Wave 2. Across Earth's oceans, the water began to churn. What the Council had dismissed as simple seafaring vessels suddenly transformed. Hundreds of ships that had appeared to be ordinary container vessels and oil tankers split apart, revealing advanced weapon systems. The Council had scanned these ships dozens of times, but they had never detected the truth hidden beneath layers of human deception. Ocean Fleet reporting ready, Banks announced. All ships showing green status. The Council ships tried to regroup in high orbit, but they had already made their second mistake. They had assumed Earth's space presence was limited to the few obvious satellites and small stations they could detect. Now, those innocent-looking communications satellites revealed their true nature. Miller pressed a button on his command console, launched the net. In orbit, hundreds of small satellites suddenly released clouds of what looked like metallic dust. The Council ship's sensors registered it as space debris, right until the moment the dust came alive. Millions of microscopic robots swarmed the alien vessels, cutting through their hulls with molecular precision. Nanite swarms performing at 98% efficiency, a technician reported. Council ships attempting to retreat. But retreat wasn't as easy as they expected. The Council ships discovered that their advanced faster-than-light drives wouldn't activate. The entire solar system was now covered in a field of human technology that they hadn't even known to look for. They're trapped in our web, Miller said quietly, just like we planned. The Council's main ship, a massive vessel that dwarfed all others, tried to take charge of the situation. It launched what they probably thought was an overwhelming display of force, energy weapons that could level cities. But the beams never reached Earth's surface. Instead, they hit shields that the Council's scans had never detected. The energy weapons didn't just stop. They were absorbed and redirected through a network that humans had spent decades building. Power collection at optimal levels, Banks reported with a grin. Their weapons are literally charging our defense grid. The Council's next communication showed the first signs of worry. What is this technology? Our scans showed your species was pre-spaceflight. Miller took a moment before responding. When he did, his message was broadcast to every Council ship. We tried to warn you. What your scans showed was exactly what we wanted you to see. Humanity hasn't spent its history just fighting wars. We've spent it preparing for them. As if to emphasize his point, the ground beneath several major cities began to open. Hidden launch bays that had been disguised as subway systems revealed rows of advanced spacecraft. Ships that combined human ingenuity with technology reversed engineered from every piece of space debris that had ever fallen to Earth. Launch the defense fleet, Miller ordered. Show them exactly what they should have been scanning for. As hundreds of human ships rose into the sky, the Council forces finally began to understand. They hadn't found a primitive species needing guidance. They had stumbled into a carefully laid trap, built by a civilization that had spent its entire existence preparing for this moment. The Council had ignored humanity's polite warning. Now they would learn why that had been their biggest mistake. The Council's main fleet arrived 3 days later. 500 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, their weapons already charged. They expected to find a broken Earth, with its primitive defenses crushed. Instead, they found empty space. "They're looking in the wrong direction," Miller said, watching from the command center. Earth's entire defense fleet had hidden in the sun's corona, using technology that the Council had thought impossible. The intense heat and radiation provided perfect cover. The Council commander's voice boomed across all channels. "Surrender now, or we will destroy your civilization." Miller nodded to Colonel Banks. "Show them our response." Humanity's ships emerged from the sun's surface like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. The Council fleet barely had time to register the attack before the first wave hit them. But these weren't normal weapons. They were something the aliens had never seen before. "Time bubbles activated," Banks reported, catching them in the slow fields. Around each Council ship, space itself seemed to thicken. Some ships found themselves moving so slowly that a single second stretched into hours. Others were caught in patches where time moved randomly, making it impossible for their crews to coordinate. The Council's rigid battle formations, perfected over thousands of years, fell apart in minutes. They had never faced an enemy who fought like this. Humanity didn't play by the rules of normal space combat. "Second wave, begin the Ghost Protocol," Miller ordered. Human ships started to flicker in and out of existence, seeming to teleport randomly around the battlefield. The Council's targeting systems couldn't lock onto them. Every time they fired at a human ship, it vanished and appeared somewhere else. "How are they doing this?" The Council commander's voice showed fear for the first time. "These primitives shouldn't have this technology." Miller's ship struck from impossible angles, using weapons that ignored shields and armor. Humanity had developed these tools in secret, learning from every scrap of alien technology that had ever crashed on Earth. "They're trying to retreat," Banks said, watching the tactical display. "Their faster-than-light drives are spinning up." But Miller had planned for this too. Deploy the anchor points. Small black devices appeared around the battlefield. They activated simultaneously, creating a web of gravitational distortions. The Council ship's engines screamed as they tried to jump to faster-than-light speed, but they were caught like flies in honey. "You don't understand," the Council commander was shouting now. "We are the greatest fleet in 5 galaxies. We cannot be defeated by primitives." Miller's reply was calm. "Your mistake was thinking we were primitive. Humanity hasn't been primitive for a very long time. We just learned to hide it well." The battle continued for hours. The Council fleet, which had never lost a major engagement in its 1,000-year history, was being taken apart by tactics they couldn't understand. Human ships would appear inside their formations, fire weapons that bent the laws of physics, and vanish before they could respond. "They're broadcasting a surrender signal," Banks reported finally. More than half the Council fleet had been disabled, their crews trapped in time bubbles or their systems shut down by weapons they had never imagined possible. Miller stood up from his command chair. "Accept their surrender. And make sure they understand. This was just our solar system defense force. They haven't seen our actual military yet." The remaining Council ships powered down their weapons. As human crews began boarding the disabled vessels, the Council commander sent one final message. "What are you?" Miller's response was simple. "We are what we've always been, a species that evolved through conflict and survived by being prepared. You ignored our warning about making us mad. Now you understand why that was a mistake." In the darkness of space, the disabled Council ships floated like a graveyard of overconfidence. They had come expecting to find an easy target. Instead, they had awakened humanity's full defensive capabilities, and this was only the beginning. The Council thought they had seen the full extent of human power. They were wrong. As the captured alien ships drifted in space, Humanity revealed why they had spent centuries preparing for this moment. Admiral Miller stood in front of the United Earth Council, addressing representatives from every nation. The massive underground chamber in Mount Everest had remained hidden from alien scans for decades. Now it hummed with activity. "The glass protocol is ready," Miller announced. "All production facilities are online." On the massive screen behind him, red dots began lighting up across the solar system. Hidden factories on Mars emerged from beneath the red sand. Production facilities rose from the ice of Europa. Entire asteroids split open, revealing shipyards that had been built inside them. "Impossible," the captured council commander whispered, watching from his holding cell. "Your species only achieved spaceflight 50 years ago." Colonel Banks, standing guard, smiled. "No, that's just what we let everyone believe. We reached Mars in 1986. We just made sure nobody outside Earth knew about it." The glass protocol was humanity's ultimate response to invasion. Every piece of technology they had hidden, every weapon they had developed in secret, was now being mass-produced. Factories that had been disguised as mining operations sprang to life across the asteroid belt. "Mercury Base, activate primary production," Miller ordered. The surface of Mercury cracked open. The planet closest to the Sun had been hollow for decades, converted into the largest factory in the solar system. Council observers watched in horror as the planet's entire surface transformed into a massive production facility. "They'd weaponized a planet," one alien scientist reported back to the Council. "They'd been preparing for war on a scale we've never seen." But Mercury was just the beginning. Beneath the clouds of Venus, human engineers had built vast networks of floating factories. In the outer solar system, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn contained hidden shipyards larger than some alien cities. "Show them the Jupiter array," Miller commanded. The largest moon of Jupiter, Ganymede, suddenly changed color. Its entire surface was covered with launch bays and construction facilities. Ships began rising from its surface by the hundreds. "This is why we warned you," Miller told the captured council members. "We didn't want to reveal all this. We were happy keeping our true strength hidden." The alien prisoners watched as humanity's real military power emerged. The ships they were building weren't copies of council technology. They were something new, weapons and defenses developed by a species that had evolved through constant conflict. "Second wave of production is ready," Banks reported. "The Titan facilities are online." Saturn's largest moon had been converted into a weapons factory decades ago. Now its ice sheets parted, revealing miles of assembly lines producing advanced weaponry that the Council had never imagined. In the holding cells, the Council commander turned to his fellow prisoners. "We didn't just wake a sleeping giant," he said quietly. "We woke a species that had spent its entire existence preparing for this exact moment." Miller addressed the United Earth Council again. "The glass protocol is at full capacity. Within 1 month, we will have produced more ships than the entire Council fleet. Within 2 months, we can match their entire military strength." The Council prisoners watched in silence as humanity's production capacity exceeded anything their civilization had ever achieved. Every asteroid, every moon, every hidden base was now revealing its true purpose. "We tried to be peaceful," Miller said to no one in particular. "We warned them not to make us mad. Now they'll learn why humans don't make empty threats." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden strength continued to emerge. They had spent generations building in secret, preparing for the day when someone would force them to reveal their true power. That day had finally come, and the galaxy would never be the same. News of humanity's hidden powers spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Council's defeat in the Sol system had shattered their image of invincibility. Now, other species began to question everything they had been told. Admiral Miller received the first message of surrender from an alien race called the Blue Fleet. They had been part of the Council's military force for 300 years, but now they wanted to change sides. "Why are you surrendering?" Miller asked their commander during a secure transmission. We haven't even attacked your systems yet." The aliens' response was simple. "We watched what you did to the Council's best ships. We watched how you think differently. None of us want to fight an enemy who can turn planets into weapons factories." In the command center, Colonel Banks brought more reports. 3 other alien species had already withdrawn from the Council. They had seen how humanity fought, how they adapted, and how they used technology in ways no one had imagined. "The Council's military doctrine is falling apart," Banks explained, showing Miller the tactical displays. "They don't know how to fight an enemy who doesn't follow their rules." Miller watched as more reports came in. The Council had always fought wars in a specific way, with specific formations and strategies, but humans had spent their history fighting in every possible way. They had mastered guerrilla warfare, deception, and unconventional tactics long before reaching space. "Their ships are still trying to fight in traditional battle lines," a human commander reported from the front. "They don't understand why we attack from random directions. They can't adapt to our changing strategies." The Council's rigid military structure was proving to be their greatest weakness. When human ships would suddenly change tactics mid-battle, the Council forces wouldn't know how to respond. They had never faced an enemy who fought so unpredictably. "Show them the new weapon," Miller ordered. Humanity revealed their latest innovation: ships that could copy the appearance and energy signatures of Council vessels. In the middle of battles, human ships would suddenly look and scan exactly like Council ships. Their own allies couldn't tell which ships were real and which were human imitations. "This is impossible," a Council general shouted during one battle. "How are they learning our technology so quickly?" The answer was simple. Humans had always been good at copying and improving others' inventions. What took alien species decades to develop, humanity could understand and enhance in months. "They've broken our encryption," a Council communications officer reported in panic. "They're learning our languages, our codes, everything." Miller received reports of more alien species asking for peace talks. They had seen how quickly humans adapted, how fast they learned, and how impossible they were to predict. Fighting humanity wasn't just difficult. It was like fighting an enemy that evolved new abilities in the middle of each battle. "The Grey Confederation wants to switch sides," Banks reported, bringing another message. "They're offering to share their technology in exchange for protection." The Council's perfect order was crumbling. Species that had been loyal for thousands of years were now looking at humanity as a potential ally instead of an enemy. They had seen what happened when humans were pushed into a corner. "Send a message to all Council worlds," Miller ordered. "Tell them we're still willing to talk peace. We never wanted this war." In the Grand Council chamber, far across the galaxy, the alien leaders faced a difficult truth. They had dismissed humanity as primitive because they didn't understand them. Now they realized their mistake. Humans weren't primitive. They were something entirely new, a species that had evolved through conflict but chosen peace until they were forced to fight. The Council had ignored humanity's polite warning. Now they were watching their perfect galactic order transform into something new, reshaped by the species they had underestimated. Admiral Miller stood in the Great Hall of the Council Archives, surrounded by the history of 1,000,000 years. The Council had finally invited human representatives to their central world to explain why they had so badly misunderstood Earth's warning. "You need to see this," the head archivist said, leading Miller and Colonel Banks to a vast display of evolutionary records. "In all our recorded history, we have never seen a species like yours." The display showed the evolution of every known intelligent species in the galaxy. Each one followed a similar pattern: peaceful development, gradual technological growth, and eventual space travel. But Earth's history stood out like a burning torch in a dark room. "Your species is unique," the archivist explained. "Every other civilization evolved through cooperation. Their planets had easy climates, abundant resources, and few predators. But Earth—" Miller watched as Earth's violent history played across the screen. Ice ages, natural disasters, countless predators, and endless competition for resources. While other species developed in comfort, humanity had fought for every step of their evolution. "We didn't understand your warning because we couldn't imagine it," a council member admitted. "No other species has your kind of history. No one else turned their entire solar system into a hidden fortress because they expected trouble." Banks studied the records with growing understanding. "You mean no other species spent their whole history preparing for war while hoping for peace?" "Exactly." The archivist nodded. "Look at these numbers. Most species had 3 or 4 major conflicts in their entire history. Humanity had 3 or 4 conflicts happening at once, all the time, for thousands of years." The record showed something else too. While other species developed technology in a straight line, humanity's progress looked like an explosion. They would leap forward, adapt, combine ideas, and create new solutions faster than any species the Council had ever seen. "Your warning wasn't an empty threat," another council member said quietly. "You were trying to tell us something we couldn't understand. You weren't scared of us. You were scared of what you might have to do to us." Miller walked closer to the display, watching humanity's history unfold. "We learned to hide our strength because we had to," he explained. "On Earth, the strongest animals usually got hunted first. The survivors were the ones who looked harmless until they had to fight." The council members looked at each other nervously. They had discovered that humanity hadn't just prepared for war. They had spent their entire existence learning every possible way to fight, while desperately hoping they would never need to use that knowledge. "There's more," the archivist said, changing the display. "Your technology development is impossible by our standards. You don't just copy designs, you improve them, combine them, and create entirely new things. No other species can innovate that quickly." The truth was becoming clear. The Council hadn't just underestimated humanity's military strength. They had failed to understand that humans were fundamentally different from every other species they had ever encountered. "We found something else in the records," Banks said, looking at a different screen. "Every other species you've contacted immediately joined the Council. We're the first ones who asked to stay independent." The Council chamber fell silent. They were finally understanding why humanity had tried to warn them. Humans hadn't been trying to avoid a fight. They had been trying to avoid showing the galaxy just how dangerous they could be when pushed. "So now you know," Miller said simply. "We spent our whole history learning to be peaceful despite our violent past. We built weapons while praying we'd never use them. We tried to warn you, but you had to learn the hard way." In the vast archives of galactic history, Earth's file was being rewritten. They weren't primitives who needed guidance. They were survivors who had mastered both war and peace, who had hidden their strength until the galaxy forced them to reveal it. 1 year after the Council had ignored humanity's warning, the galaxy had changed forever. Admiral Miller stood on the observation deck of Earth's new space station, watching ships from 30 different alien species passing peacefully through the solar system. "The last Council holdout signed the peace treaty this morning," Colonel Banks reported, joining him at the window. "They're accepting Earth's terms without any conditions." Miller nodded, remembering how different things had been just a year ago. The Council had thought they were forcing a primitive species to join them. Instead, they had sparked changes that transformed the entire galaxy. "How are the defense-sharing programs going?" Miller asked, turning away from the window. Banks brought up a holographic display showing dozens of alien worlds. "Better than expected. 23 species have already adopted our early warning systems. They say they feel safer knowing they can detect threats like we did." That had been humanity's first gift to the galaxy, teaching other species how to defend themselves. Earth's warning systems, the same ones that had spotted the Council's approach, were now protecting hundreds of worlds. "The training programs are working too," Banks continued. "The younger species are learning fast. They understand now that being peaceful doesn't mean being defenseless." Through the station's windows, they could see the sun's surface where human ships still trained, hidden in the corona. But now they had company. Alien ships learning humanity's techniques, understanding how to protect themselves without looking threatening. The council representatives want to meet again, a communication officer reported. They say it's about the new government structure. The old council was gone, replaced by something new. A system where species could remain independent while working together. Earth hadn't wanted to rule the galaxy. They had wanted to make it safer for everyone. Show them the new defense grid plans, Miller ordered. The one that protects everyone, not just the strongest worlds. On screens around the station, a new map of the galaxy appeared. Earth had designed a network of early warning systems and defense stations that would protect all species, not just the powerful ones. It was the opposite of the Council's old system. The Blue Fleet is requesting more training, Banks said, checking another report. They want to learn how we hide our strength so well. They say it's smarter than always showing off your power. Miller smiled at that. The galaxy was learning Earth's most important lesson. True strength didn't need to be displayed. The ability to fight didn't mean you had to fight. How many species are studying at the New Earth Defense Academy? Miller asked. 57 at last count, Banks replied. They're not just learning about weapons. They're learning about hiding strength, about choosing peace while being ready for war, about being strong enough to be gentle. Through the station's windows, they could see Mars, where the huge factories were now building tools for peace instead of weapons of war. The glass protocol had been turned to a new purpose, creating technology to help other species protect themselves. The Council archives sent a new report, Banks added. They've officially classified Earth as the species that changed everything. They say we taught the galaxy that true power is choosing not to use your strength unless you have to. Miller watched as more ships arrived through the new transportation network Earth had designed. A year ago, these species had been enemies. Now they were students, allies, and friends, all because Earth had shown them a different way. Send a message to all stations, Miller said finally. Tell them Project Guardian is ready. The galaxy-wide defense network goes online today. As the message went out, Miller thought about how it had all started. The Council had ignored humanity's polite warning, but in doing so, they had helped create something better than their old empire. They had forced humanity to reveal not just their strength, but their wisdom. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Sometimes the most powerful species aren't the ones who show their strength. They're the ones who politely ask you not to make them mad.